Hi, it's Bosselady. Welcome back to my beginner's build series for City Skylines 2. In this series, we're taking things step by step to build smarter, better, comfortable, cozy cities in City Skylines 2. Today, we're diving into one of the most important topics in city planning: road hierarchy. Road hierarchy isn't just about placing roads. It's about understanding how roads serve different purposes in your city and how they work together to keep your city flowing. Sometimes those purposes change, so you've got to be flexible. So grab your coffee, sit back and relax, and let's build something beautiful. Our city that we started last time, when we started building our first city, we named it New Tutoria. It only has 21 people, but as you can see, I've got another city here. I've been working on another Let's Play. If you're interested in looking at those videos, I'll link them for you. But I want to go into this city. It's much bigger. We've got 13,000 people already. And I want to show you the road layout here before we go back into New Tutoria and try to build. All right, so I'm going to load into Oak Hills. Now, planning for road hierarchy, understanding it before you start building your city will really help to avoid traffic issues down the road. But let's back up a little bit, and I want to show you this road right here. And you can see me trying to put in this bridge, build this bridge, and really making a mess of it. If you want to go check out my Let's Play and kind of see how I did that, it's really kind of sad, but I finally got it in, and I think it looks lovely. So let me just tell you a little bit about this map. So this map started with this highway already here. It didn't have any roundabouts. The highway comes from outside the map. It comes through here. This was, our starting tile, obviously. The highway comes right on the edge of where the starting tile is. And then it turned into this bridge, not this bridge, a different, much more plain bridge, and went off over there, and we didn't own any of that tile, so we couldn't build at that time over there. And that was it. There was no connection or no road or street where I could zone. So I had to build in a connection. And because of the way the zone, the starting tile was, I couldn't even really build right here. This was the only place where I could build. So I came in here and I just started drawing this street. I did not put a roundabout. So let's show you that. I'm going to take out this roundabout, and you can see that it turns into a red light, right? So this is what I had for much of the beginning of my city as I was building Oak Hills here. I had my highway coming in, and then I had a red light. They could turn and come into my city or go straight across the bridge. Now, this highway at that time was only 2 lanes. 1 lane coming in, 1 lane going out. I've now widened it to make it 4 lanes. And I started having traffic problems because there was a red light here. And so I put in that roundabout. I put in a small roundabout, actually. That was the only option that I had. As you progress in your city and you get to your progression tree, you can come here to roads and you can unlock these other things. One of the first things that you'll want to unlock are roundabouts, advanced road services, and even parking. But let's talk about the roundabouts and the advanced road services. You already have access to roundabouts when you begin your game, but they're small. Unlocking roundabouts here gives you access to medium, large, and very large roundabouts in a variety of decorative styles. So the one that I just bulldozed was, I believe, a medium. So I didn't have access to that one at first. You can see it over there. Yeah, it says medium. So that's what I had here. So when I first put in a roundabout, then it was small. Now the other thing that you unlock is advanced road services, okay? So it tells you in the description over there, road maintenance facilities, traffic light, and signs, as well as roadside decorations. Traffic lights, that's what I want to talk about. The game will automatically, on larger intersections like this, I've got 4 lanes, intersecting into 4 lanes, the game is going to say, ooh, that's a pretty big intersection. I'm going to put a red light, and it will automatically put a red light here for you. Your citizens, your Sims will have to stop at the red light. Unlocking road services gives you this road services tab in your roads menu, and you can click on traffic lights and you can add them or take them away from intersections. Now remember, this is something that you'll unlock later, so at first you're not going to have this available to you. But it's important to remember, highways should not have stops. Think about it when you're driving around in maybe the town or city where you live, or maybe if you don't live in a large city, maybe there's a larger city near you. Certainly if you live in the United States, if you get on what we would call an interstate or an interstate highway, you're not going to find any stops. There are no red lights on interstates. There are also no buildings zoned on interstates. And that is what, and let me just click this. I'm gonna right click it and take that red light away. And you can see now that these people on this highway will never have to stop. If they want to turn, they can just slow down and turn. If these people want to get on the highway, they're going to have to make sure no one's coming before they pull out into traffic. All right. And then that is a tool that you can use to keep your highways genuine at first early in the game as you're having to connect. Because really, a highway should not have an intersection. Again, let's go back to our real life example. In the United States, if you're on a interstate, there are no intersections. There are no crosswalks. No one's ever supposed to walk on an interstate. There are no 90-degree turns off of an interstate. What you do have, though, are on and off ramps. And that's something else that you'll be able to unlock in your progression tree, or what they call intersections. But really, they are highway or interstate intersections. Here it is right here on this tab. And you can see these little drawings. You might recognize a big clover leaf or some other type of roads. You can see how big they are. If I were to choose this, look at the size of this thing. It's huge. But basically, this is allowing for you to attach three. I'm trying to get in a place where you could see it a little bit better. Three double-laned highways, right? With this big kind of on-off ramp loop looking thing to get on the other highway, and these on-ramps. And that's what we're dealing with here. You're dealing with, in the game, intersections, and really these are on and off ramps from one highway to another. Or think of it this way, from one interstate to another. All right, so why is this important? Well, because in our road hierarchy, so I've zoomed out so you can see a little bit more of my city, and you can see I've added more of these roundabouts. I will be removing those, and I'll explain why to you as we go along. Here's my highway, all right? So your highways in City Skylines 2 are at the top of your hierarchy. These are your largest roads. These are the roads where you're going to drive, or your citizens can drive the fastest. These roads cannot have areas zoned on them. You cannot build residential, commercial, industrial, anything on them. And you should never put, or you should at least avoid, when you can, having intersections. And I call them intersections, and I know the game calls them intersections, and they're saying add those. But I'm talking about red lights, stoplights, crosswalks, 90-degree turns on and off of your highway, or even roundabouts. You should avoid these if possible. If you have to put these type of what I call intersections, right? You can put roundabouts because there are no stoplights. It will slow your traffic down, but at least they don't stop. And if you have these 90-degree things, then you need to unlock in your progression tree as early as possible the ability to get rid of those red lights. And you'll see I still have crosswalks there. You see these stripes? You can also get rid of those in the same manner. Go back to your services, choose crosswalks, and right click. And then this is not going to do all three of them. It'll do them one at a time. Right click, kind of hovering over where each of them would be. And now you won't have people trying to go across your road. Okay. All right. So at the top of our hierarchy, then we have these highways. Highways should go all the way through your city from one border to another. And then off of the highways, you're going to build your city. To connect to your highway, it is best if you do what in the United States we would call on or off ramps or merge lanes. In some other areas, you may call them slip lanes. And you can think about these pieces of highway or even road that are one way and maybe small, and maybe and I'm going to destroy that building as I do this. Maybe they start here and come out a little ways and then arc, right? Let's go ahead and put that in. That type of merge or on or off ramp, something where traffic doesn't have to start, but people who want to transition to the other road will be able to go and do it. And this wasn't a really good place to do it. I need to do something with my terrain. Look at these weird little humps of mountain we got there. You will see that it did put a red light. Again, you can take that away. It did put crosswalks, and again, you can take those away. I will need to fix that, but I do like that, and I do want to do that, and I will be doing that. Now that I've unlocked, right, in my roads, now that I've unlocked large and even some more of these mediums, I have access to more lanes of one way. I've also unlocked highways so that I can do a single or double lane if I want to there, and that's important. Now, before you've done that, you can use this one lane, one way road is available to you, but keep in mind that it will have sidewalks, so it will be pretty wide. What you would want to do would be to come down here and use the one way alley. It's going to look a little more like the highway one-way merge, what I would call a merge lane, okay? So what I am going to do then is get rid of these traffic circles eventually, right? And then, or roundabouts, if you call them that. I have a tendency to call them traffic circles. That's kind of a common term where I live. I am going to get rid of those, and I'm going to be putting more merge lanes. We'll talk about that in just a minute. All right, so we were looking at the hierarchy here. I've got another one here I need to do something with. So you've got the highway at the top of the hierarchy that comes in, and then you're going to have just a few, not many roads that come off of your highway. You can see here I've got 4. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. It was probably easier to see when I had these roundabouts in there, right? All right, so I've got 4 coming off, and I might be changing that, but as we zoom out, we can see, if we look at these 4, and let's look at this first one. This is the original one that I did, and let's look at where this road goes. First of all, I want you to notice that it is 4 lanes, so it's a larger road. I don't have large roads available to me when I first start the game, but I had medium, and I had this one medium road, this 4-lane medium road available, and I used it to connect to my highway. And then look where this road goes. Cranberry Street. It goes literally, if I highlight it, you can see it a little bit easier, literally all the way around my opening tile. It literally makes a loop all the way around. This style of road is called an arterial. So this is a big road that can carry a lot of traffic, and people can get on it and go all the way around my city, or at least my opening tile, my district. And I did that on purpose. Now, on an arterial, the rules are you shouldn't have too many intersections or connections to other roads. Now, we can see here I do have a few, but it isn't that many. And when I first built the road, there weren't many at all, right? So I came this direction first, and I put in a couple of small, now they're medium, roundabouts. And look how far apart they are. That's important. Another rule is to not have many buildings zoned. So for the longest time, I didn't have any of these buildings right here. None of these and none of these were zoned on this road for much of the time as I was building, and I just recently added them. So why did I add them? Well, I wasn't having that much traffic on this road. That's why you don't want these buildings here, because it's going to cause traffic to slow down. People are going to parallel park on the side of the road, and people are going to turn into little parking lots for some of these buildings, right? Or turn into driveways or parking garages if you have residential built there. And people are going to slow traffic down as they're entering and exiting these parking lots. So it slows your traffic down, and that's why you don't want to put too many. Now, you can put some, obviously, especially if you don't have too much traffic like I've got here. You can also come back and remove them later if you see that traffic is really building up. All right, so you don't want too many connections. So I've got one here and one here, and then it comes on around, way around, all the way to here before I put another connection. And then the same thing, it comes way around, all the way to over here before I put another connection, right? And then it comes up through here, and I didn't have all these connections right here until very recently, and it connected here, right? Back to my starting location. Now, this isn't necessarily a good location for a connection, but that's why it was important to put a roundabout. You don't want to make this, when you first get off the highway, really short and for traffic to have to stop. Like, this would not be a good red light, especially at first when I started building the city and this was the only way into the city. So all of the cars that were coming this way or this way came here, turned, and then stopped. And that meant that all of this got blocked up all the way back and out onto the highway. And then you slow down traffic on your highway, and that's what you don't want. So on these arterials, then, they connect to your highway. They don't have very many connections themselves, or at least they're far apart from one another. They're roundabouts if possible, rather than red lights. And you don't zone too much. And I know I've broken that rule, but we'll talk about that some more in just a second. You don't zone too much on your arterials. Now, from your arterials, let's look at our arterial again, and let's see where those connections are, the intersections off of our arterial, and let's see what those roads are. So we've got one right here. It's called Florence Street, and look what it does. This is called a collector road. A collector road is usually a medium type of road, maybe the same size as your arterial, maybe a tad smaller. It connects to your arterial and still travels the length of your city pretty much, right? It doesn't quite go all the way to the arterial right here. I could have done that. I see that now. Sometimes you don't really notice on these collectors until after your city starts building. Now, collectors can also connect to other collectors. Collectors can also connect to arterials, right, in another space. Let's look at this street. Look what it does. It connects to my arterial here, Cranberry Street, and then I added a short little connection to my highway, which I will probably be revisiting, deleting, or changing as my city grows. But this street, Buckthorn Street, goes all the way through from one arterial back to the arterial, but in another section. See, it goes all the way through my city. These roads are collector roads. Now, the collector roads are where you're going to want to build service buildings, commercial, maybe a higher density residential. And you also want to think about limiting the number of buildings that are facing this road. And I don't mean don't ever build things facing this road, but I mean kind of limit it. So let's go in a little closer to Buckthorn and see what we can see. Let's just come right here, kind of to the center of Buckthorn. We can see these three buildings here. These are service buildings. This is my medical clinic. This is my city police station. And this is my firehouse. And then we've got a couple here. That is just a low density commercial. That is low density commercial. We've got a few right here. That's low density commercial. Okay, so that's what's facing this road. And then there's some more here. These low density commercial, again, when I first built this road, they were not here. I added them a little later as my demand for commercial came up. And this road was strictly for my service buildings early on. Now, from your collector roads, you're going to build your local roads. And you can see here, I've got some local roads. These local roads might have cul-de-sac. They might not. They might be short. They might not. These local roads might turn into collector roads as your city grows, but you can see that they are connected to your collector. They don't necessarily travel the full length of your city. They might later, but they might be really small. These local roads are where you're going to want to build things like your low density and your medium density residential. And you can see that on this local road, I zoned for all of these low density homes to face this road. You can also see that there's not much traffic here and there's not much parking. It's nice to have a sidewalk. People can walk down because this is low density. They have driveways. They won't park on the road. They'll turn into these driveways. Now over here where I zoned medium density, you can see that these row homes don't have driveways. And so everyone is parallel parking on the road. So I should have given them a parking garage somewhere so that some of them could park in the garage, because quite honestly, and here it is, because quite honestly, there's not going to be enough parallel parking space here for them. So they've got a parking garage here. That street has one also at the end of it. And then over here, I built some small apartment complexes, or maybe some low rent apartment complexes, which are medium and even high density on the low rent. And again, gave them a small parking garage, which is full, but many of these apartment complexes come with small parking lots. There are not enough parking spaces for everyone, again, so you will need to give them some small parking garages. But these are the local roads. You're not going to see a lot of commercial on these local roads, although you could see some. And I've got a spot here where I thought about maybe putting a road, but look at this huge hill that it goes down, and so I didn't do it. So I could come in here, I could zone for some more homes, or give them a little park or a small parking lot or something like that. And you'll have these spaces throughout your city. And as you're zoning in, you can put these small little local roads, and you'll find good places for them eventually to kind of fit them in. All right. So again, this is my big arterial coming around. So for these people to get to their homes on this local road, they would want to turn here on our collector road, come up the hill, and then they can find their local roads right in here. Okay. Now let's go back to where we were and turn around so that you can see that same bird's eye view of the city. And I want you to notice then how I gridded in these local roads. And you're going to start thinking, well, some of those look like collectors. So we said that Buckthorn was our collector, right? And that this was a local road. Coleridge Street we looked at Woodland, we looked at this one with the row homes as well, and it's not given me a name for it. There it is, Elm Street. Could those be considered collectors? Sure, they could. Elm is going, it's a small road, but it's going all the way from my residential all the way to almost an industrial area. It does end in a cul-de-sac though, but it connects with a roundabout right here to Florence Street, which we already designated as a good collector road. So what you're going to see is some overlap. And as your city grows, you're going to find that sometimes arterials will appear or function as collectors, or collectors will appear or function as local roads, or they'll start out as local roads and become collectors, or start out as collectors and become arterial, and maybe even go back from being an arterial back to being a collector road, right? So let's talk about that for just a second. I said that I was going to get rid of these small little junctions here. So why would I do that? Why would I get rid of my roundabouts? Why would I then get rid of these small little junctions? Well, I've started having a lot of traffic, mostly on this one. Why? Because it's the first one. You'll find that in cities' skylines, as traffic is coming in from this side, they'll turn on the first one available to them to get into the city. They see this junction here, and they all started turning, and traffic backs up all the way, which is why I kept widening and widening this road. You can see it's a 2-lane over here where I can't build, and I've widened it and widened it, and it's now asymmetrical, 3 lanes going in this direction, because there were so many cars backed up trying to turn, especially at different times of the day. So because I want to build over here, right now I have no roads going over here. I need some way to get on the other side of this highway, and even on the other side of my train track here. So what I'm thinking about doing is elevating this section of the highway and having these roads go under the highway. So then this would literally be an arterial or collector road, not connected to my highway at all. So do I need connections from a highway? Of course I do. Traffic needs to be able to get off of it. What I could do then from the elevated piece of road is create that little on or off merge ramp coming right through here. And you can see I've got space. I've not zoned in anything here. It's not going to interfere with buildings. I might have to bring this little cul-de-sac back a little bit, but I could make an on-ramp going from here to here. And this will definitely improve traffic. You have your highway at the top of your hierarchy. You have your arterials. Then you have your collector road. And then you have your local roads. I hope that helps. I hope this has made some sense to you. Now we need to look at New Tutoria and see if we can put this into practice. So let's load New Tutoria and let's take a look at the roads that we've already built and see what we can figure out about highways, arterials, collectors, and local road. Now, the first thing that I want you to notice when we log into New Tutoria here, This is what we call vanilla map. This is a map that comes with the game. That other one that I was using was one that I downloaded from Paradox Mod, a custom map. This map started with this highway, right? It's a 4-lane divided highway here. And then that highway just kind of dead ends and turned into a road. Now, that really kind of shouldn't happen, but you're only going to see that on vanilla roads, on vanilla map. You're not going to see that so much on the custom ones. On the custom maps, you're going to see this style highways that go from one edge of your map to another, and not necessarily highways that dead end into regular road, right? And we really shouldn't be seeing that here. That's going to cause serious traffic issues. Probably, as we develop the city, what we should do is extend this highway as a real highway. In other words, convert this little bit of road that we drew in as we extended the tiny little piece that they started. We need to convert that to a highway and connect all the way around back to this highway, right? Make it a loop. Think about cities that you visited. In the United States, those loops around the larger kind of center of a large city, those loops are often given numbers such as 410 or 610 or things like that. Excuse me, coming off of your interstate. That's kind of what we need here. We need a loop with then lots of on and off ramps to arterials into our city. But we can't do that at first. We don't have access to those tools, and they dead-ended their highway into this street for us that we renamed Main Street, and then we extended, yeah? So for right now, then, this street is acting like a highway or maybe an arterial, right? If we think about our hierarchy. So that means we don't want to zone on this. We don't want to have very many intersections on this. If we know we're going to change it into a highway or we want to use it as an arterial, we want to keep intersections or junctions, and we want to keep zones off of it. So notice what I did. When I built in a road, a small road here, that's where I put my zones. I didn't zone anything on Main Street. And you may have been wondering why. That's why. Because Main Street's not going to stay like this. Main Street is going to change. This might not even be Main Street later. This might be a continuation of Victoria Highway and not the main street of our town. So I built this road. Now, if this is our highway, then this would be an arterial, but this isn't a highway. So let's call it an arterial. So this would be a collector, yeah? So if this is a collector, we don't necessarily want to have a lot of zones on it or a lot of intersections or junctions on it. Maybe a farm is okay, but what about these houses? They probably shouldn't be here. Now, you can put low density residential on a collector. There's nothing wrong with that, but it would be better to create a junction, create a local road coming off of this collector, and put these homes on it. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Remember when we were looking at grid sizes and how to build them and how to build in these roads? In the last episode, I skipped over and I left these 2 spaces here, blank spaces, because that would be perfect for a road. So let's just come out 280 meters, sounds pretty good, and put in a road, okay? So probably, if we're going to call this a collector and this a local road, these homes should face this local road instead of this collector. So that's 6 right there. Let me just come in and I'm going to zone another 6, and you'll see they face this road. Let's start time, and we can see them build in, right? All right, so let's say we want this to be an arterial or collector road. We're not sure which it's going to be yet. We don't really know how our city is going to grow. So we don't want to have these homes, these low density homes facing this road. So we're going to get rid of them, and they will go away, but I'm going to go ahead and bulldoze them. See, that one went away. All right. Now I zoned in 6 right here. If I zone in these 6, and you might remember I showed you this toward the end of our last video, they could still face this road. They're on a corner. We don't know which road they're going to face. I want them to face this road, this new road that we put in. But I want my zone area to stay consistent in size. Do I want another road coming this direction, making a grid? Maybe. I don't know yet. I don't know yet, and I don't know how big I want the road to be. Juniper Street right now is a small road. It's the smallest, other than the alley, that we have available to us. If this is going to be an arterial or collector, it's going to end up with a lot of traffic. I might want this road to be widened. Could I go ahead and do that now? Sure. And maybe that's what I need to do, is widen this road. Maybe it needs to be my medium 4-lane road. Let's put on our replace tool, and I could come over here and I could get rid of, I'm going to get rid of those homes anyway, right? I could get rid of those homes, still build in again, because I didn't de-zone it, but I could replace, and you can click and drag. I kind of like to do it section by section to make sure that I'm lining everything up the way I want. So notice I chose to go in this direction for a reason. I knew my farm was down here, but I do have my pump, and it's not going to let me build. I'm going to need to move my pump to be able to enlarge the road right there, but I can do that later. Now, when I look at my zones right here, I still have 6, but I'm still not sure which direction they're going to build. Are they going to go where I want them to go? Well, there's a couple of tricks. One thing is, don't zone in that zone right next to the road. Just don't do it. And you could then widen this road even more once you unlock large road, or you could build trees there. You could build bushes. We could build a nice pretty, nope, he doesn't fit. We could build a nice little pine tree. Let's see if we can make him elderly so he can be big. Yeah. We could build a nice little pine tree. Notice that if you hover over the road, you can build the pine trees in your sidewalk. But what if I wanted it here on the side of my road? I could build it. There's plenty of space. So you can make decoration on the side of your road. When you unlock parks, there are even some parks that are tiny, one little square wide. You could put a little park there for the people. So that is one trick, or one thing that you can do. Another thing is just to delete this section of road if you want everyone to go in this direction, right? But that is how you start planning out your roads. This could be a local road. Could it be an arterial or collector? Absolutely. We could use this road to come all the way around and come back and join back in over here, right? We could use this to loop around our tile. But this isn't a peninsula like I had in Oak Hills. Look how far this extends. We'll eventually be able to buy all these tiles. We don't necessarily want a little loop right here. We might, but we might not. We don't know yet where this little city is going to be, or this district. You know, one thing that I learned early on in City Skylines is that these maps are really large. And the tiles, while they seem small, they're pretty large. And really what you need to think of, instead of this entire space that's available to you, right? This big, huge map, which I can't even look at my map tiles right now because I'm still just a tiny village. But we know that this is big and it extends all the way to this dotted line. Instead of thinking of that as your city space, think of it like a county or a state if you're in the United States, and you're going to have multiple cities inside that area, multiple metropolitan areas with some suburban areas in between. You could think of them as towns. This game, City Skylines, calls them districts, and you'll be able to come here and use your district tool, and you'll be able to name them different things. So we could name this Old Town, and then we could build another one over here and call it New Town, or whatever we want to name them. And that is going to make a little more sense, I think, eventually. So these highways are going to connect, maybe Old Town, maybe we put New Town over here. This highway could loop around and it could connect Old Town to New Town, right? So then the arterial and the collector within Old Town, that's going to make a little more sense, because once you come over here, that arterial and collector aren't going to mean anything. You're going to need that highway for that connection. And then Newtown would have its own arterial and collector. Okay, I hope this has helped a little bit as we look at new tutorial, and I'm going to slow down my time and then stop it all together. We are nearly at our first level of the progression as soon as we build in some more homes. So why do I say homes when I've got my demand here for everything is just maxed out? And it's because we can see this little icon. Our farm can't find enough workers. Why? Because we don't have enough houses for people to move into. So we don't have a large enough population yet. This is really the only place other than our pumping station over here that they could even work, and they can't even find enough workers. So we know we need more homes. So what we need to do then is decide how we want to grid this. So if we wanted to turn Camberwell Street here into a collector or even a continuation of an arterial, what we would do would be to come back over here and draw this way, and then we could take these homes and have them face in this direction, right? And we could let our city grow facing Linden Street, and take them off of here, have them not face this road. And the easiest way then to do that would be to D-zone this. I'm going to D-zone all of this. Then I'm going to bulldoze our road. Yeah. Then I'm going to come back in, and I guess I didn't have to D-zone this. And I'm going to zone this in, and I'm going to have people face this road. And I could come back in here, put in my next road. I don't know how long I'm going to want those to be, and zone like this. Yeah. They don't have water. Why? Because I deleted this connection. I can bring it back to get them some water. Now they can be connected. They can start building. And notice what I did. I didn't build against this large road over here. I don't want to put too many zones on an arterial or even a collector facing it, right? So I'm facing these local roads that I've put in. And it's the same thing. I didn't do it here because why? Because this street continued here. They might face that street. I'm okay with having things facing this street. So really I need to delete this little section so I can be sure that these people face in the direction I want them to face. They're going to be upset for a bit, because they're not going to have, right? Wait for them to zone in, put their road back. So you restore their water and power, and now they will zone in facing the correct way, okay? If you're not happy with him being small, you can delete him and see if he goes in larger. He does. If I know, okay, yeah, I like this size for my grid. I think I want to have a road here. What I would do would be to come in and zone maybe another section, knowing that I'm going to have a road right there and leave a space for it. Okay, so now we can see that our demand has gone down some for our residential. We've got a lot of homes coming in, and they're wanting now commercial and industrial. Where's a good place to put our commercial? Well, we've got this road that's probably going to be a collector. We could definitely put some on our collector road. We do have this one, which could be thought of as an arterial or maybe a collector. And you can certainly put some there, but I just wouldn't put too many connections. Like, I don't think I would have this road come out and connect, and then another one over here come out and connect. And we made Tiny Village. Excellent. I'm going to stop time. We're going to take a quick look at our progression tree, and we can see that we can unlock our advanced road services like we've discussed earlier in the video. There are also some other things, though, that we want to look at unlocking. We'll look at that in our next video, and I want to take a look real quickly at our map tiles. So if we zoom out, we can see we're pretty much in the center, and we can see everywhere where we're going to need to go. Now, if we click on one, let's say we want to just go here, it'll tell us how much fertile land or whatever that we have, right? There's some wood, but there's not really any fertile land on that one. Let's choose this one and right click to unchoose that one. We can see that there is fertile land here. So that might be a good one because we know that we can build some farms. Oh, this one doesn't seem to have fertile land though, does it? Let's unconnect. Yeah. It just has a tiny bit. So if we want fertile land, this is the one we're looking for. It also has some wood. And if you go closer, I'm just using my mouse to roll in, you can see all of that wood. Okay. I'm not going to purchase that right now, though. I'm going to get out of this view and it zooms you back to where you were. Kind of makes me a little bit dizzy. But that way you can kind of plan. If we want to bring our highway around, we know we're going to build our next town over in this area. We might want to look at buying a map tile or two right over here so that we could extend that road. Okay. All right. So I hope that this helps you a little bit with your highways versus arterials versus collectors versus local roads like we've started building right here. Maybe this makes a little bit of sense. This might be something that you'll want to revisit later as you start building your town and you start realizing maybe you've done something wrong. Trust me, you haven't done anything wrong, and you can always kind of upgrade the roads or downgrade the roads. And remember, your town is dynamic. Your city is fluid. It is going to grow. And as it does that, your roads are going to change their functionality. They may go from being collectors to being arterials, or from being arterials down to being collectors. Again, I hope this has helped. And please join me next time as we explore our progression tree and continue building new tutorials. So let's review what we've learned in today's episode. We learned that highways can be throughways or loops around your city. It should never have intersections. We learned that arterials are the roads that connect to highways and bring people into and out of your city. We learned that connector roads connect to the arterials to bring people deeper into your city. These connector roads and arterials can sometimes move up or down in this hierarchy, and that's okay. And then at the bottom of the road hierarchy, we learned we have local roads. These are the smallest roads and should be used in lower residential areas and to bring people into the deepest parts of your city, to their homes or to their workplaces. The local roads are going to have more intersections and connections, more junctions than any of the other roads, and more zones. Our roads should feel comfortable and safe. We can decorate them with trees, and once we unlock our road tools, we can control crosswalks, right, left turns, and traffic signals. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and that it helped you understand road hierarchy in City Skylines 2. If you like this video, please give me that thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss the next video in my Beginner's Build series for Cities Skylines 2. I'll see you next time.